because you mentioned this. Sorry, I probably just. Right, guys, welcome to another podcast from Just a Chat. We're delighted to have Declan from Gambling with Lives down today. We're just going to go through a wee bit of his story and a wee bit of background on gambling, addictions, the link with mental health, and just fire a few wee questions in. So, first of all, thanks very much, Declan, for coming down.
Pleasure, thanks for having me.
It's a cold hour evening for it, like, but
it's cool enough, but sure we get there anyway.
Yeah.
Plenty of layers on.
Well, basically, just we always start by sort of asking, what is mental health? Everybody's got their own sort of perception and meaning and stuff. So, if I was to say to you, what is mental health? What's your response?
For me, it's someone's mental well-being, really, be it positive or negative. Everyone has mental health. I've heard from people in the past that that person has mental health. That's what they said, or hasn't got mental health. Everyone suffers with mental health, be it positive or negative. And yeah, that's the way I do see it. And thankfully, some people go through their lives with pretty good mental health and positive, and unfortunately others can struggle at times with their mental health. That's not always a bad thing, as long as you can learn to cope with what is going on, and you can just understand what mental health is, and basically putting things in place that can help your mental health then.
So do you want to tell us a wee bit more about what Gambling with Lives is?
Yeah, so Gambling with Lives is a UK-based charity. It was a charity that was set up in 2018, and it was set up by families who were bereaved by gambling-related suicide. So it was set up by Charles and Liz Ritchie. They lost their son Jack, again to gambling-related suicide, and they then set up the charity in 2018. The main aims of the charity is for this not to happen to anyone else. The three main aims would be to campaign for change, to change laws and regulations, and as well to educate our young people across the UK and Ireland as well. I am the training officer here on the island of Ireland, so my role consists of going around schools, sports clubs, GA clubs, youth groups, whatever it may be, and basically just raise awareness on the harms and dangers of gambling, along with a little bit of my own lived experience of gambling.
And you would do quite a lot of workshops with schools, groups and stuff like that. In terms of gambling, and we're sort of the same with sort of the generic mental health, we always feel it workshops is good, but sometimes it's not enough, whereas it should be sort of brought in mainstream. Is there anything sort of down the pipeline to bring that into schools a lot more regular or anything?
Well, we would hope that it is part of the curriculum at some stage. But I would say that the schools across Northern Ireland have been absolutely fantastic, and they want us in delivering the sessions. They see it as a rising problem. Every school, a lot of teachers and the senior teachers are having young people coming to them with a gambling problem. So the problem is on the rise massively. But yes, of course, I'd love to see something more set in stone, that we have to go into a certain amount of schools per year, because I do believe that if I had the education that I give young people around the harms and dangers of gambling when I was in school, it might have changed my mind, and I do believe it may well have changed my mind.
And sort of leading into that, do you want to give us a wee background of your sort of when you started gambling and where it sort of took you?
Yeah, so I started gambling when I was 16. A harmless £1 roulette spin, and I won £7.20 off that spin. I was absolutely buzzing. It was quite a few years ago. I was able to buy a Subway and whatever and treat myself. But I'll always remember leaving that day and ringing a few lads and just being like, I've got a way to make money. And they all believed me as well. And I genuinely thought I had a way to make money here going forward. Very, very soon after that, I would basically find out that I became addicted to gambling near enough straight away, really.
How long do you think before you actually were addicted and before you realised you were addicted?
Yeah, I genuinely think within the space of a month I was addicted to gambling, because literally after that day, the only day I wasn't gambling was a Sunday, because on a Sunday the bookies was closed at that stage. So every single day I was basically in, be it £1 I was going in with, or a tenner or 20, because at that stage I didn't have an awful lot of money, you know. But yeah, I realised probably after, say, 3-4 months that it was starting to become a problem already, and that it could lead to bigger issues. And I was aware of that already. But at the start, it was something that started off so fun for me, and so small. But as I progressed, then as more money started to come into my account from working and things like that, that's when the problem started to get a lot worse. I left school at the age of 18, 19. At that stage, I was gambling massively. I was only getting £60 every 2 weeks EMA allowance, and then I was getting around 70, 80 quid a week. I was working in retail at the stage, so it was still quite a lot of money that I was gambling, and I was gambling, and as soon as it came into my account, every Saturday, I remember it, just couldn't wait to get it. But at that stage as well, I was totally addicted. So even if I lost all that money so quickly, I had to find other ways of getting money, because all I wanted to do was gamble. So be it stealing, it's not something that I'm proud of or like admitting, but if this is going out to people, and you know, people need to know that's where gambling can take you. If you do become addicted to it, you can steal, and you can turn to so many different ways to get that money, which is not a good thing at all, you know. Mm-hmm. Things would gradually get worse as I left. I went to university for 3 weeks. How I even got to uni, I'll never know, but the PE teachers in the school I was at were so good to me, to be honest with you. And I wouldn't say they'd done it, I'll get them in trouble, but they certainly helped me get to university. And I found out when I was there, it basically wasn't for me, it's not something I wanted to do. But that
Where did you go to university?
I went to Ulster University, Jordanstown, so I was doing sports coaching there. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really want to do it, to be honest. I was keeping people happy, but what my main aim was to get a full-time job and to go out and earn real money so I could gamble, and that's ultimately what I wanted to do. Again, I loved gambling at that stage, and I just wanted to make proper money so I could, you know, have heavy bets, you know, and that's what I went on to do then.
And when you said after 3 or 4 months you knew there was a problem, how long from that 3 or 4 months till you reached out for help?
Yeah, well, I would say when I was about 18 or so, I was starting to get out there that I was gambling. This was still while I was still at school. There was times at lunchtime, boys were all going down with me to the bookies. We were all in our uniforms, so we shouldn't have been doing it, and it shouldn't have been allowed. We shouldn't have been allowed in. They were all crowding around watching me playing the machines because I was heavy enough, like, you know. So the word was well out there. I remember my mum as well. She went to a parents' meeting. She came back and she went mental because one of the teachers who really cared about me had obviously heard that I was gambling and it might have been a bit of difficulty, and she just couldn't believe it. So at that stage, that's when problems started to really occur. My mum didn't go mad at me because she was a horrible person. She went mad because she didn't really understand about gambling either, and she was obviously worried about me too, but she just didn't know the right way to go around it and ask what was going on, because even like that was a while ago, and gambling wasn't really prevalent then, or people weren't open about it and being honest about it and coming out about it.
I think it goes back to what you're saying, is that if you'd knew a bit more tools before, but at the same time, if your mum knew more tools, so it's almost like similar to mental health as well. Everybody gets help when they're in a crisis, but there's not enough prevention tactics. And it's the same with gambling. It's how do you talk to somebody who you think's gambling? So how do you approach them the right way? Because at the end of the day, if you have an addiction and somebody approaches you and goes, there's a problem, like an intervention, it can push them deeper into the hole. Yeah,
absolutely. And again, I don't blame my mum. She was never educated about it, and there was never really anything done in the past, you know, about educating people around this kind of thing and what to look out for and stuff. But you say in terms of, you know, having an intervention with someone, it is very, it's extremely important that you're using the right wording with people and stuff if you are worried about someone who is gambling. Because I remember even when people came to me and they're only trying to help me, I was I was angry. I was like, just leave me alone. I'm fine. I'm okay. You know. But it's about if people are reaching out to people who they are concerned about their gambling. It's about basically making them aware that this can happen to anybody. You know, they're not a weirdo or they're not a strange person because this is happening to them. This can happen to anybody. It's extremely addictive products that.
It's designed that way.
Of course, the industry are extremely smart and they're making billions and billions of pounds, and they're doing that because they're making people addicted to gambling, and from that people are just starting that journey, you know, and basically losing everything with them.
If I say, for example, you're my friend and I see the dangers and I want to approach you and I don't know how, could I phone one of the helplines as a friend and sort of ask those questions like, my friend's got a problem, what do I do?
Yep,
Is that support there for others, you know?
Of course, there is different ways and means you can get help for people. There's different helplines out there that you can get some information. Again, I turn it back to my mum, like she didn't have any of that, you know, so she didn't know how to go about it. But with Gambling Lies, we have Chapter 1. And Chapter 1 website, it's absolutely amazing. It has all the different tools and information, support hub for people to go and get that help for people, and basically how you can push on and basically start asking these questions and getting these people the help as well. Because someone who is gambling, the hardest thing to do is to ask for help, unfortunately. But again, you speak about mental health. If someone's had a mental health problem, again, the hardest thing to do is ask for help, you know. So if there's people approaching these people, it might make it a little bit easier for them to speak out and basically let them know that they're not alone, and you know, these things happen to everybody, you know. And
sort of, what in terms of your betting, like how bad did it get? Like amounts and frequency. I know you says when you were 16, you were in the bookies every day with £1 or £20 or whatever. But how bad did your lowest get?
Yeah, so things did progress then when I went out and got that full-time job. And I often tell the young people in the schools and sports clubs who I'm speaking to, like, I was earning anything between £2,500 to £2,500 a week in the sales job that I was in at that stage. Basically,
was it like commission oriented?
So yeah, so I had my basic wage and then there was commission as well. On
did you find yourself pushing harder in work to gamble?
Sometimes,
you know, like it's you know, it wasn't like everyone's got sales targets. Was that your target in work at times?
Sometimes and sometimes. Well, yes. Sorry, not sometimes. It was always the plan to push on, but if I had money in my betting account or whatever, and I'm in work, I wasn't working. Like I was gambling online. I was in the bookies next door to the shopping centres and stuff. You know, so it would have been my intention to make that money, but I couldn't do that when I'm not actually there selling and doing what I'm meant to do. So obviously gambling then was having an effect on the kind of the wages that I was earning. I should have been earning a lot more and stuff, but basically, yeah, so anything between £2,500, £2,500. If I was getting £2,500 a week, I was spending it. I was getting £2,500, I was spending it. It didn't matter what I was earning. And this was, say, 2021. At that age, like, I was gambling every single penny of it. There was a day, for talk's sake, I was in Enniskillen working, and I'd been paid from 2 weeks. We were paid 2 weeks behind, and I was paid from 2 weeks previous from the work I'd done in Derry. And the £2,500 came into my account. I went to the bookies, I think at 9:30 as soon as it opened in Enniskillen. I spent an hour on the machines and the virtual horses because the dogs and horses weren't on yet. And I walked out of that bookies with zero. I went in with £2,500 on my bank card and left with absolutely nothing. An hour later, I was stealing a Poundland sandwich to feed me for the day. Because I had literally no money left. So I went from having £2,500 in my account to go in, committing a crime and walking back out like the most degrading thing in the world. And mentally what that was doing to me, it was literally killing me, it was torturing me inside. But as well, what was worse is what I was doing to everybody around me. That, for me, that was the worst thing. Although people see gamblers as they see gamblers as quite a selfish person and things like that. I'm actually the opposite, very kind, compassionate, caring, you know, would do anything for anyone. But when you're in the height of that addiction, nobody really matters at all. But it takes now for to be the position I'm in now to realise what I was doing to people and the harm I was causing, you know. But again, you ask like what was the worst. It was like, you know, things just gradually got worse over a period of time. It wouldn't have mattered again, like I say, what kind of money I was earning. I was losing it all. I pushed on and got a different sales job. It was about 50, 60 grand a year, huge money. And I'd moved on because it was a jump. But realistically, all it was doing was feeding my addiction and feeding my habit. And it was £4,000 or £5,000 a month. I was losing every single penny of it, chasing it, payday loans, owed fortunes out, you know, again, stealing money, just any way I could get
See,
money.
while all that was going on,
Yep.
how do you hide that from your family partner? Do you know what I mean? Like, how does that work? Like, how?
You think you're hiding it, but deep down, these people, they know rightly what's going on. Again, if someone approaches me, I'm pushing them away. No, I'm absolutely fine. I'm doing nothing wrong.
Just deflecting it.
Yeah, but it always comes out in the end, and you know, it was the hardest thing in the world. See, hiding it from people, it was so difficult, and it really, really affected my mental health. I just wanted to break down and just tell people, and just I did at this stage, like, you know, 24, 23, 4, 5. I just wanted to stop because it was just causing so much hassle to me, so much harm to me, and again the people around me. But my mental health was in absolute ruins. Like, I didn't want to be on the world anymore. You know, I was always growing up. Loved to laugh, loved the crack. Like, honestly, one of the biggest slaggers you would meet, and it even took all that away from me. You know, it took a lot away from me. It just stripped me bare, to be honest. You know, so hiding it was difficult, but realistically, I wasn't hiding anything because everyone actually knew. You know, like, you know, my mum used to get the letters from the loan companies through the door, credit cards, you know. I didn't have money for her housekeep. She knew rightly, you know, what was going on. But as a gambler, you think you're a step ahead and you have these lies and stuff, you know. I had a partner at the time, great person, and I would have had plans to go out for dinner and stuff. And I would have to say, like, I lost my wallet on the way home. We can't go for dinner, or can you pay for it? Or, you know, silly things. Looking back, it's embarrassing even thinking that you were saying these kind of things, you know.
Yeah, and what was your biggest individual bet and biggest win?
The biggest win one evening was online. I won around 19,600, so I always rounded up to 20,000.
And what was that on?
That was just on a mixture of everything. So it was online because it was during the evening. I stayed up right through to the next morning. So it was roulette, blackjack, table tennis, badminton, basketball, genuinely anything. I love sport, but I've absolutely no clue about table tennis, all that kind of thing. But anything you could have a bet on, I would. So
I think anybody that sort of has a betting account will agree that sometimes they're just, what can I bet on? Do you know, it's just that you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, well, I've won 40 quid on this or 60 on this. It's like, well, there's no football on, there's no Premier League to tomorrow. Sure, let's see what's on. Do you know?
Unfortunately, there's so many different things you can gamble on now. You know, even politics and just anything you can gamble on. You know, but again, so often something I tell that the young people that, you know, I had that money in my account, stayed up right through the next morning, not because I wanted more money, just because I loved doing it still. But basically, that next morning I didn't have £1.50 for a black taxi in the Belfast town, so I had to leave literally an hour earlier. No sleep, walking down the road, freezing cold, because I'd lost every single penny of that. You know, that's enough money at the time, you know, to put a deposit down the house or something good, positive. But I was just never ever thinking rationally at all because I was so addicted, and it just consumed every part of me. You know.
Did it at any point when you lost that, did you think, I need to stop?
Every time, yeah. Every time you lost that, losing money in general, any time you fought it, obviously when it's them kind of sums of money, you're just like, right, I need to stop here, this is just ridiculous now. But I just couldn't. I couldn't.
You always found yourself,
but
I can win it back, or
I'll get it back.
One more will get me out of debt. And
so I used to be like, I'll get maybe borrow 500 quid and I'll win it back, so I don't have to actually tell anyone and put people through all this again and stuff, you know. So I always wanted to stop it then, because I was just like, it's just killing me here. But I just kept continuing to go, and because it is so addictive. Also, you're trying your best to give it up, and next thing you have a free bet coming into your account, so you're like, right, I'll have another go at it, you know, I'll have a try. And it's as if these bookies and the industry was just in your brain, like, he's looking to give it up, so we'll fire him a free bet, and it's just the way it seemed to me.
But even at that, even if they don't fire you a free bet, you can't turn on the TV now and watch your favourite team without this is on, oh, it's this score, and it's just, and the adverts are so attractive.
Yeah.
Like, they're so creative the way they do the adverts.
Yeah, the industry, you know, last year in the UK spent 1.4 billion on gambling advertising. They're not doing it out of their goodness of their heart just to give these advertising companies money. They're doing it to make tenfold back, you know. So, like, even to this day for me, you know, staying away from gambling is so difficult because it's literally everywhere. Like, I'll leave the house in the morning and I'll have to walk past bookies. I'll have to walk past their adverts out the front that it's people gambling with their friends, everyone's smiling. But they'll not show you the people in their room, myself, one of them, so many others who are lying in the room crying, their eyes out, crying themselves to sleep. You know, they'll not tell you about the people who have unfortunately took their life because of gambling addiction. You know, they'll never ever put that in an advert. You know, it looks so fun, it looks so attractive, so appealing. You know, one of the games last season, one of the first Premier League games had 3,500 adverts in one game. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous. You know, it's on the front, the jerseys. You know, I support Celtic, and it's on theirs. You know, it's literally everywhere. Yeah. There's just no escaping it. So for someone on the journey to stop gambling, it's so difficult.
So many triggers.
Yeah, so many triggers.
Not to compare it, but like, if you're coming off a drug addiction, you're not faced with drugs every day when you walk out the street, but you can't go a full day without seeing something. Look at Paddy Power, for example. Yeah. They're amazing marketers. Yep. In what they do. The Mike Tyson fight. Yep. They had Paddy Power fella in the audience doing the Dick Singles viral. Nothing to do with betting, just Paddy Power, and then it just triggers that next thing, next thing.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I can see what they're at, and I can see that some of the stuff is funny. I'm not going to sit here and lie about it. It's funny, but unfortunately, I see the other side of it. Yeah. What it can potentially do to someone, the journey it can take them on, the negative journey. You know, and again, I'll touch back on it. The journey of the people who are involved with that gambler. You know, so for every one person affected by gambling, there's around 6 to 10 others affected. You know, so that Paddy Power ad might be a bit of crack for someone, but for someone, it could be them going back gambling again, and again starts that whole circle again, you know. And it is very, very difficult with advertising. You know, it's literally everywhere.
And when you said about the work you do now and stuff, obviously you're talking about gambling day in, day out. Is that difficult? You know, coming from is it triggering for you? Do you find yourself going home maybe getting an urge or whatever way to say it when you're standing talking about gambling every day?
Yeah, thankfully right now, for the length of time I've been in the job, I haven't felt that way. I'm smart enough to know that could change, but for me, it is, when I'm speaking to young people and I'm getting a good response and getting interaction, it's the best therapy ever for me. Like, you know, it helps me so much. If I can have a 16 or 17 year old in a room and I think that I'm going to help them, that they may not gamble because of something that I'm able to share with them, for me, that, like, it's an unbeatable feeling. But there's no doubt in my mind that sometimes it could become triggering or it could become too much. And you know, I was going to say I try not to take too much on it for myself and at absolutely everything, you know. But again, for now, it's working. It's positive for me at the minute, and I hope that can continue that way, you know. But I know it can be triggering for other people sharing their story. Of course, if I'm doing a few different sessions in one day, that can absolutely be tough. Sometimes you'll go home drained, like you will be tired, and your mood will maybe drop a bit. But thankfully, it doesn't give me the urge to have a gamble, you know. Thankfully.
And how, if you don't mind me asking, how close have you came to relapsing? Sort of, whatever this week, this year, give me an example if you can, if you don't mind, of a time where you were sort of, all right, I need to be careful here.
Thankfully, in the time that I've been refraining from gambling, thankfully it hasn't happened that much. I will say though, in the past, I had made numerous attempts to stop gambling. I think my longest was 6 months, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So I just had to gamble again. And what that was it was a Saturday, and it was the Ulster GA, the Ulster Championship. Sorry, was starting a game, and I just thought I'll have £100 treble. I do remember it, and that got me straight back into it. Just that small wee thing. So now in the stage of my life, I'm still very, very worried that could happen, but I don't often get triggers or urges. But that's not saying I never do. There is sometimes, I'll maybe get it once every few months, I'll get it, but I try and push it away straight away, and then just bring myself back and realise what I have going for me now, the work I'm doing, and that things are a lot more positive now, because it would be very easy for me just to go, you know what, I'm going to do it.
Do you feel a wee bit more comfortable that it sounds like your strong mindset gets you through those triggers? But if you're, say, for example, if your mindset wasn't as strong this week and you had a trigger, do you feel like because you spoke out and because people understand around you that you have a better support system?
Yeah.
That if you need to call out, you can?
Yeah. To be honest, I have extremely good support systems in place. Like, I'm one of the lucky people. I call myself. I have so many people I can go to. Some people who weren't in my life years ago are in my life now, who are brilliant. I can turn to these people and go and speak to them. And I'm very lucky with that. I basically, what has helped me a lot as well from not going back gambling is I have put my story out there. I'm not saying that everyone should do that, absolutely not. It's totally up to the individual. But I remember when I was 3 months into refraining from gambling, there was a guy in Belfast who took his life, and at that stage there was people saying, like, they always speculate things which shouldn't happen, but he was gambling, lost a lot of money and things like that, and it kind of hit me real hard. I was only 3 months in the recovery. I was like, God, that could have been me, really, really could have been me. And I remember just putting the post out on Facebook, and the next thing, it just blew up, like all these comments and likes or whatever. But and from there on in, I was out there in public about it, and for me it helped me so much, because obviously now things are different. Like, I've spoken Storm out, speak in the news or radio, whatever, but I kind of can't gamble again, if you get me. Like, I couldn't walk in the bookies tomorrow and if someone see me, they'd just be like, what's going on here, So for me, that was such a big thing to do, and I totally get why people wouldn't want to do that, but for me, it really, really helped me, and it basically held me accountable, to many people.
See, I think every time you listen to a podcast or watch a video of someone come back from gambling, it's normally somebody in the public light, and that's what they always say, is now that they're out, they can't walk into somewhere, but that probably isn't easy for every Joe Blogs in the street.
Yeah.
So I think that sort of is what, like, he's probably what works for you mightn't work for him, but mightn't work for him, what works for that. But I think it's good, the likes of the GA, the Gamblers Anonymous meetings, because you're sitting with sort of like-minded individuals sharing other stories, like the stories you've shared today.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that a lot of people will relate to it and will be able to put things in place to, geez, maybe I do have a problem.
Yeah.
So I think that knowing the support, which we'll add in the comments, all different links that if you do want to, you can access that. I think that's very, very important to know what's out there.
Yeah.
Even if you don't think you have a problem.
Yeah.
It's sort of always good to have that sort of knowledge, just in case.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And like I say, I'm one of the extremely lucky people who I'm blessed to have so many people who care about me and who want me to be doing well and things like that. But I'm totally aware that there's not that for everybody. There could be someone suffering in silence. And for that person, I would totally recommend them to open up to someone, be it a doctor, or attend a GA class, or just whatever, speak to somebody, do you know, because there is always somebody out there who'll listen to you and are willing to help. And I know that full well. I'm still asking people for help to today, and I will the rest of my life. I just know that people will help, you know.
I think, so say for example, I'm gambling, right? And I'm sitting on my phone and I'm sitting here and I'm gambling 10, 20, 30, maybe 50 quid. But that's maybe manageable, disposable income. So I'm not really panicking. I don't have a problem because I'm not doing 20, 30 pound bets, 100 pound bets. I'm doing 40p spins and 80p bets and £2 at darts. What should I look out for if I'm that casual better?
Well, first of all, what I will say on that is I'm absolutely not anti-gambling. I'm totally aware that there is people out there who can do it within their means. When I go out to schools and stuff, again, I'll bring it back to that. I'd never tell anyone not to gamble. It's not my job to do so. If I could make someone not gamble, absolutely. I would love that because I know where it can lead to. In terms of people betting, you know, different amounts, be it £2, whatever, it becomes a problem when you start to see it taking over your life, when you can't go a day without gambling, if you're falling into debt because of gambling, if you're becoming irritable, if you're always on your phone gambling, if it's affecting relationships around you, you know, these would be all stuff that I would say to look out for. For someone, you know, if you maybe were concerned about someone or even yourself, these kind of things, maybe detaching yourself from people, people who always cancel plans, like to go for dinner, but then they'll write into the group chat, no, I can't go. If that's happening on a regular basis, maybe are they gambling too much? Do they not have no money to go? You know, just simple things like that to look out for, and that could be the key.
I think that links in with the mental health side as well. Is every time we do a workshop and we say, you know, what signs can you look out for to spot somebody that might be suffering?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 you get withdrawn, anger, you know, all the bad stuff.
Yep.
But it's also any change in that person. So if you're quiet, if you turn around tomorrow and start being all this bubbly, loud,
Yep.
that's also a sign in terms of how can I mask this?
Yep.
So it's almost like a case of it doesn't have to be a negative thing as well.
Yep.
They're the common telltales,
Yeah, of course.
but it's also the other side as well have to look out for. Is there any sort of tools that's out there that can, say for example, I want help right now that's going to stop me from gambling online?
Yeah.
Is there any there that I could access now that?
Yep. So things that I put in place, and I put them all together so that the work is one, to make it to basically make it more impactful, is like things like GamStop was incredible for me.
I've heard of that. What's
Yeah,
that?
so GamStop basically enables you from gambling online, so it puts the blocks in place. So, you know, it was so good for me to have that, to put that in place, because even if I wanted to go and have a bet online, you know, a sneaky one, I couldn't do it because I have that in place, you know.
Yeah, and say for example, I'm betting on Paddy Power loads, and I delete Paddy Power and just download Ladbrokes.
Yeah, exactly.
Or download you know, one of the rest of them.
Totally,
so.
and that's everything that I used to do. I'd close one account and the next day I'll open the other one. But things like GamStop, Gamban, you know, they're all brilliant tools that I couldn't encourage anyone enough to do and to use and to download. As well, you know, you can't self-exclude in store as well. I would advise people not to be embarrassed to go into a store and tell them that, you know, it's got too much and that you want to self-exclude. There's no embarrassment in it. You know, it gets embarrassing when you've no money left, and you know that's when it gets bad. But absolutely, I would really encourage people to use them kind of tools that I've spoke of.
When you were at your sort of height of gambling in bookies and stuff, did anybody ever come to you in the bookies and say, that's enough?
To be honest with you, in one of the stores that I can think of in the town in Belfast, there was some lovely ladies in there who would be like, listen, Declan, obviously they got to know me by first name over the years. I think maybe you've done a little bit too much today. Maybe we think you should maybe leave. But at that stage, I was too far gone as well. I was just like, no, I'll not be leaving, you know. But you will often find that they'll just let you gamble away until you've nothing, you know, until you don't have a penny left. And them workers, there's not an awful lot they can do, you know, but I do have a gripe with the likes of workers who would have let me go in my school uniform when I was 16, 17. That kind of hurts me a little bit now, but I suppose they didn't really care.
It's a business at the end of the day, isn't it? So in terms of, what advice would you give to somebody that is just feeling maybe a few of those things are me, but I'm alright, you know, it's manageable, I'm fine, I'm not that bad, but it's just the do sort of resonate a wee bit.
Yeah, well, I always told myself it was alright, really, and you didn't really want to believe it until I hit rock bottom. Lost £31,500 off just one of my accounts, had about 6 different accounts in my last few days of gambling. Lost serious amount of money, and my mental health was in the gutter. Planned to do some things that I would never have done when in the right frame of mind. So what I would suggest to someone like that is please reach out for help, and don't let yourself hit rock bottom before you ask for that help, because sometimes that can be too late. You know, please just ask for the help straight away. Go to someone, speak to anybody. You know, people do listen to you. Like, you know, people do want to help you, and reach out and get that help. And basically try not to let it hit rock bottom where you contemplate taking your life, you plan to take your life. You know, it shouldn't happen, because there's a life out there worth living for absolutely everyone. And I can say hand on heart now, like over 5 years in recovery, that I can say that there is a life out there living. It didn't happen within the first year, 2, 3 years. Like, it does take time too. And that's another thing I would say, like, be patient as well, because I'm someone who just wants a quick fix every time. But it doesn't work like that. You have to get out of it, you know. Even still to this day, like, I suffer with depression and anxiety. And that's just part of my life now, and I've accepted that. And you know, I'll probably have this for the rest of my life, but you know, it's about coping with it and putting the right things in place, you know, to make life that bit easier when the dark days do come, and they do. And that's the harsh reality of life, you know. There's plenty of things thrown at us that are difficult in life, you know.
And sort of just to wrap up, where you're at now, mentally, physically, financially, everything, what is the comparison in terms of where you were when you thought you were at the height of your brilliant gambling?
Yeah, it's insane where the difference in my life now. Like, even just, I'll always go back to the work I do. You know, that for me is, I've won now. Like, you know, it's better than any amount of money you can ever win gambling or anything like that. You know, I'm not motivated by money anymore. I used to just consume my life and take over my life. Thankfully now I don't really worry about money. I don't have loads of it, but I don't care. I can do the nice things that I want to do. I can go on holiday or whatever I want, really, you know. So the difference is just absolutely amazing. And mentally, I'm in such a better place. I don't go to bed every night thinking about gambling. But I don't have to run downstairs in the morning and intercept the post because I'm scared of it being a loan company and someone see it, you know. I don't have to worry about any of these things no more, so it takes a huge weight off my shoulders, thankfully, you know. But yeah, the difference is crazy, and to think that there is such a better life out there without gambling is crazy as well, because it's something that I used to do probably every single hour of every day, you know. And without doubt in my mind, it's the best decision I've ever made in my life.
Brilliant. I think that's exactly where we need to leave it then. I just want to say thank you very much for sharing what your story is and where you've came from and opening up. Yeah, like I said, guys, if anybody out there is under any pressure, any situations, any crisis, and maybe you don't have someone to turn to, message us. You know, there's a lot of charities out there. Just drop them a message. The Samaritans, 24/7. It doesn't have to be somebody close to you if you don't want to go that route. We will put down all the support links. We also have our mental health app. If you go onto our app, there's services that are powered by Find Help NI. If you type in gambling, search your location, it'll give you more stuff as well. But yeah, so I think the basis of this story is that no matter how you're feeling, no matter how bad it is, there is always a way back up. So hopefully you've got something out of this, and hopefully we'll look forward to seeing you again soon, Declan.
Cheers. Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.